The New Age movement is the modern-day popularization of occultism, which has been one of the main objectives of the Theosophical Society. In her book, The Key to Theosophy, Blavatsky stated that one of the primary means of building a global brotherhood of man would be, quote, to encourage the study of those laws least understood by modern people, the so-called occult sciences. The occult sciences, stated Blavatsky, help develop and cultivate, quote, the hidden powers latent in man, thus giving him tremendous advantages over more ignorant mortals. The occult sciences include magic, mediumship or channeling, hypnosis, alchemy, and astrology, all of which are very popular in the New Age.
You have multiple books in here on astrology, telepathy, and just various books on magic.
The New Age Almanac notes the success of Blavatsky's endeavor to spread occultism in the West. Quote, several hundred new occult organizations can be traced directly to the Theosophical Society. For example, drawing upon the esoteric work initiated by Theosophy, ritual magicians have attempted to attain the mastery of the world through occult means, in a measure only hinted at in Theosophical circles. Theosophy also nurtured a reborn astrology. Beginning with minuscule astrological groups in the late 19th century, astrology made an astounding comeback to become the most pervasive popular occult practice in the latter part of the 20th century. Like the New Age movement, the primary aim of occultism is the pursuit of the expansion or evolution of consciousness and the attainment of Christhood through spiritual initiation. Occultist Rudolf Steiner is a perfect example of this idea, as a collection of his lectures is entitled The Evolution of Consciousness, as revealed through initiation knowledge. Aleister Crowley, arguably the most notorious occultist and Satanist of all time, is an even more profound example of the occult roots of the New Age. Author Nicholas Campion sums up Crowley's New Age lineage and his influence in the development of New Age thought. Quote, there were two important currents of New Age prophecy in the 20th century West until the 1950s. One was embedded in the theosophical and esoteric tradition, promoted by Alice Bailey, Rudolf Steiner, and Carl Jung. The other was magical, promoted by Aleister Crowley, and emphasized paganism and decadence. Crowley's vision of a new global religion, his understanding of all great prophets as manifestations of a single essence, and his desire to restore the West by teaching the East to the West mark him out as an heir to Blavatsky. Crowley's esotericism was by and large unoriginal. However, his most important contribution to New Age thought was to provide a statement of universal rights. Crowley's philosophy was fundamentally New Age. He propounded New Age ideas such as the following, quote, happiness lies within oneself. Every man and every woman is a star, and the infinite unity is our refuge. Since if our consciousness be in that unity, we shall care nothing for the friction of its component parts, and our light is the inmost point of illuminated consciousness. He believed that through meditation, quote, the consciousness of the many may be melted to that of the one, leading to the, quote, expansion of consciousness to that of the infinite, which, as I previously cited, was exactly how Alice Bailey defined the New Age initiation process. This is a clear sign that occultism, Satanism, and the New Age movement are part of the same spiritual phenomenon.
And I love what you said about the evolution of the next consciousness.
What's evolving is consciousness. Consciousness is the thing that's evolving, and it expands in every way it can.
We are also granted the gift of experiencing an expansion within our own consciousness.
Through the expansion of consciousness.
We are moving away from this separation consciousness and moving into unity, oneness consciousness.
The solar flares, the vibrational frequency is actually awakening all of us, and we're awakening as one.
Because you are connected in consciousness to everybody.
We need to come together in mutual acknowledgement that we're all the same consciousness having different experiences. The change consciousness is about oneness, unity of everything.
Alice Bailey made it very clear that occultism was the source for her view of the Christ, and she believed that this New Age occult Christ would soon overthrow the Jesus of traditional Christianity. Quote, it can be expected that the Orthodox Christian will at first reject the theories about the Christ which occultism presents. At the same time, this same Orthodox Christian will find it increasingly difficult to induce the intelligent masses of people to accept the impossible deity and the feeble Christ which historical Christianity has endorsed. Occultism presents a Christ who is present and living, who is known to those who follow him, who is a strong and able executive and not a sweet and sentimental sufferer, who has never left us, but who has worked for 2,000 years through the medium of his disciples, the inspired men and women of all faiths, all religions, and all religious persuasions, who sees divinity in them all, and who comprehends the techniques of the evolutionary development of the human consciousness. These ideas the intelligent public can and will accept. Then the picture of a Christ demanding a unique position to the exclusion of all other sons of God will fade out in the wonder of the true apostolic succession, in which many sons of God, on different rays, of differing nationalities and with varying missions, are to be seen historically leading humanity along the path of divine unfoldment and nearer to God, the source. Occult or esoteric means that which is hidden or secret, and refers to knowledge only known to the initiated. Occult teachings are usually associated with the idea of spiritual awakening, which is a very popular idea in the New Age. One becomes awakened when they have learned a hidden truth about the world and themselves, and thus they become initiated into the secrets or mysteries of the ages.
We're moving into this new age of Aquarius, and it's going to be an awakening for everyone again.
It's sort of an awakening that happens in consciousness.
And I think that there is more of an awakening.
This great awakening is just about to take place.
It is the awakening of the Christ principle in humanity.
You're expanding. I was expanding in more of a positive direction.
Yeah.
There has been an awakening.
Mankind's first awakening, according to the occult, occurred in the Garden of Eden, when the serpent revealed a great mystery to Eve that God had kept hidden from her, that she could become like God if she partook of the tree of knowledge. This was the first initiation. By eating of the tree of knowledge, Eve was initiated into the mysteries. She discovered her true identity and became God. This has been the foundational teaching in the occult and mystery schools for centuries, that in the Garden of Eden, the serpent was the arbiter of mankind's initiation into godhood and imparted the ageless wisdom. This is what Madame Blavatsky meant when she stated that Satan, the serpent of Genesis, is the real creator and benefactor, the father of spiritual mankind, and that Satan can only be regarded in the light of a savior. Aleister Crowley similarly stated, "This serpent, Satan, is not the enemy of man, but he who made gods of our race, knowing good and evil. He bade know thyself and taught initiation." Alice Bailey also confirmed that the roots of initiation are found in the Garden of Eden and the serpent's temptation to eat of the tree of knowledge. Quote, "Initiation leads to the cave where the secret of good and evil is revealed." This explains how the ancient mysteries or ageless wisdom has retained the same core body of teachings through the centuries, because they have descended from the same spiritual father, the serpent. This is why the mystery schools, which are the ancient ancestor religion of today's New Age movement, worship the serpent as the bringer of divine wisdom. In Isis Unveiled, Madame Blavatsky confirmed that the serpent was the supreme god of the mystery schools. Quote, "The Hierophants, moreover, of Egypt as of Babylon, generally styled themselves the sons of the serpent god, or sons of the dragon, because in the mysteries, the serpent was the symbol of wisdom and immortality." Manly P. Hall, a 33rd degree Freemason and one of the most well-known experts on ancient and esoteric wisdom, also confirms the Christ-like importance of the serpent in the mystery schools. Quote, "The initiates of the mysteries were often referred to as serpents, and their wisdom was considered analogous to the divinely inspired power of the snake. Among nearly all these ancient peoples, the serpent was accepted as the symbol for wisdom or salvation. Notwithstanding statements to the contrary, the serpent is the symbol and prototype of the universal Savior, who redeems the world by giving creation the knowledge of itself and the realization of good and evil. The accepted theory that the serpent is evil cannot be substantiated. It is the symbol of the reincarnation, which was common to many of the ancient mystery schools." What's interesting is that the Bible actually prophesies the rise of the mystery schools, which consist of the serpent's spiritual offspring or followers. As the Bible makes clear, the offspring of the serpent would be engaged in a long and hostile spiritual war with God's Son, the true Messiah sent to undo the damage done by the serpent in the Garden of Eden. In Genesis chapter 3, almost immediately after Adam and Eve's encounter with the serpent and their subsequent betrayal of God's command, God foretells the coming of the Messiah and the ensuing conflict that would arise between the Messiah and the serpent's offspring. Speaking to Satan, God says in Genesis 3:15, quote, "And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He, that is Jesus Christ, will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." This one verse explains centuries of spiritual war between the mystery schools and those who follow the God of the Bible. And it also implies that these are really the only two types of people in the world, those who follow the God of the Bible and those who follow the serpent. It also makes perfect sense of why occultists like Alice Bailey, being the offspring of the serpent, consistently take issue with the Jesus Christ of the New Testament, and why the mystery schools and Christians have for so long battled over who the true Savior is. Also, Satan, in an obvious attempt to discredit the true Jesus Christ and lead people away from true salvation, has created his own occult or Aquarian Jesus, who has supposedly been suppressed by Bible-believing fundamentalist Christians. This is Spiritual Warfare 101, and it is this occult Christ whom Alice Bailey and the Lucis Trust claim is soon returning. According to the Bible, Adam and Eve's partaking of the tree of knowledge was a disastrous event that led to mankind's fall into sin and separation from God. Yet the occult New Age, interpreting the event from the other side, claims Adam and Eve's encounter with the serpent was a revolution in mankind's development toward higher consciousness. Rather than living in paradise, as the Bible claims, Adam and Eve were imprisoned by Jehovah, spiritually unconscious, stuck living a mere animal existence, and the serpent came to liberate them with the gift of divine consciousness. The teaching of the serpent as the great initiator and savior of mankind is currently gaining worldwide acceptance through the New Age movement, which ultimately aims to precipitate the next Garden of Eden event by helping humanity ascend the ladder of spiritual evolution and unlocking the next level of consciousness. As the modern-day incarnation of the ancient mystery schools, the New Age movement worships the serpent both literally and symbolically. Perhaps the most blatant manifestation of this serpent worship is through what is known as the Kundalini, or serpent energy, the latent divine power believed to be lying dormant within each person. In the glossary to her theosophical devotional called The Voice of the Silence, Blavatsky defined the Kundalini as, quote, serpentine or the annular power on account of its spiral-like working or progress in the body of the ascetic developing the power in himself. It is an electric, fiery, occult or phohatic power, the great pristine force, which underlies all organic and inorganic matter. According to the New Age, the Kundalini, which Alice Bailey defined as the fire at the base of the spine, can be awakened through practices like yoga and meditation, and once it is aroused, the Kundalini then activates 7 focal points of energy in the body, called chakras, as it is raised up a person's spine. Alice Bailey taught that the awakening of the Kundalini energy is a critical part of the New Age initiation process. In a treatise on white magic, she stated that when the Kundalini energy is aroused, it, quote, correctly makes possible the final initiations into the consciousness of the monad, or God. The Kundalini concept is essentially an occult metaphorical twist on the Garden of Eden account, with the notion of the serpent bringing the gift of God consciousness or divine wisdom. Professor John White, who has extensively researched the occult sciences of meditation and higher human development, comments on the Kundalini and its correlation with achieving godhood. Quote, nearly all the world's major religions, spiritual paths, and genuine occult traditions see something akin to the Kundalini experience as having significance in divinizing a person. The word itself may not appear in the traditions, but the concept is there nevertheless, wearing a different name, yet recognizable as a key to attaining godlike stature. The Kundalini and 7 chakra centers have been a central part of the mystery school teachings since ancient times. One Hindu esoteric author confirms this, quote, the ancient symbol of serpent in all the ancient mystery schools of the world is a codified secret symbol of the human vital energy flow channels, represented in the physical body by the spinal cord, through which the vital life force, prana, in the form of a snake motion, moves in the chakras, vortex of energies. New Age author Daniel E. Mitchell claims the same. Quote, there were 7 levels of these mystery schools that taught Arat Sekhem, which means the serpent power. It was about connecting with the 7 energy points of the holy serpent fire of God within them, while traveling upon the mystical path that leads to the awakening of the Christ consciousness. Describing what occurs when the Kundalini is awakened, New Age author Cindy Dale states, our full physical and spiritual selves begin to merge. In Samadhi, all aspects of our true being, now fully activated by the Kundalini, can achieve a state of union with the divine and empower us to become our real selves. Commenting on the rise in popularity of the Kundalini in America and the influence of Eastern spiritual teacher Gopi Krishna, Christian author John Newport writes, Gopi Krishna devoted much of his life to learning everything he could about Kundalini. He considered it the most jealously guarded secret in history and the guardian of human evolution. He believed it to be the driving force behind genius and inspiration. Gopi Krishna was eager to see Kundalini awakening cultivated, especially in the West. Since the 1970s, Kundalini awakenings have been reported with an increasing frequency in the West.
With the arousal of this power, a stream of silvery energy rushes up the spine and reaches the brain.
Kundalini is a very powerful energy. And when it begins to wake up, it's almost like this force that's trying to rise up our spine.
I started experiencing energetic flows inside my body, going up my spine during that meditation.
And it clears the chakras as it moves up. I can actually feel it moving in my body.
Kundalini serpent, the energy that can rises up, your animal energy can become the coronated serpent.
In fact, the brain is now fed with a more powerful energy than before.
It felt like my entire brain just lit up, like a current shot up my back into my brain.
Which causes it to become luminous.
This gray, white, luminous energy.
It expands my consciousness.
And expanded my consciousness.
And, I had experience of huge expanded, cosmic consciousness.
An expansion within our own consciousness.
Which we can conquer through the expansion of consciousness.
So it's like my senses had expanded. It was weird. I felt connected to everything.
It was like I was face to face with God.
Ever take you to a crazy place, psychedelic state?
Yeah, I had that realization that what I considered to be myself was a construction and it wasn't real. That my memories and my perception and my desires are just a conglomeration of biochemical impulses, that I'm merely a conduit of pure consciousness.
This experience of God or cosmic consciousness is actually an experience of a higher form of consciousness towards which mankind is evolving at present. Just as man climbed from the state of an animal to that of a man, he has to take another leap to reach a higher dimension of consciousness where he can perceive the creative energies of the universe.
33rd degree Freemason Manly P. Hall explains the occult significance of the Kundalini serpent, quote, that sleeping serpent power in man, which coiled head downward around the tree of life, drove him from the garden of the Lord and became the symbol of the Christ. The Pharaoh was an initiate of Scorpio, and the serpent is the transmuted Scorpio energy, which, working upward in the regenerated individual, is called the Kundalini. This serpent was the sign of initiation. It meant that within him the serpent had been raised, for the true Pharaoh was a priest of God, as well as a master of men. Hall also correlated the Kundalini serpent with the Garden of Eden. Quote, the tree that grows in the midst of the garden is the spinal fire, or Kundalini energy. The knowledge of the use of that spinal fire is the gift of the great serpent. Knowing this, it should be no surprise that Satanists take a liking to the concept of the Kundalini. On an openly satanic website, it states, the serpent or snake, which symbolizes Satan, represents the Kundalini at the base of the spine, also the DNA. The serpent represents life. When this force is activated, we are healed and enlightened. Satanist Aleister Crowley also believed in the power of the Kundalini energy. He spoke of, quote, the serpent flame, and encouraged everyone to, quote, arouse the coiled splendor within you. Along these lines, some reports of what people undergo during a Kundalini awakening share a very eerie similarity with accounts of individuals who have experienced demonic possession.
Also, I've noticed that my body has started to jerk around unexpectedly.
And when it first moved, it was so intense that, I had convulsions, seizures, incredible neurological disorders, loss of memory, couldn't sleep. It was a really crazy experience. And it's funny because like when it was happening with me, people would see me and my body would be shaking or trembling, and I was experiencing absolute bliss. But when friends and family or whatever, I even went and saw doctors and neurologists, all kinds of stuff. People would look at me and they'd turn pale because they were like, oh my God, there's something really wrong with this guy, and nobody could figure it out. I knew what it was all along. But the Kundalini force in general can be quite powerful and create intense havoc for us. Some people get stuck like this, or their eyes roll back in their head, and that's helpful for a lot of people to kind of wake up the divine energy within us, open our channels, and help those energies to move. But Kundalini energy is just an amazing force. I found yoga to be extremely helpful, and some forms of yoga were helpful.
Just have to be completely dedicated to the Kundalini practice, and you have to go to a very specific state that's achievable once you have some mastery over the meditation and the yoga principles.
Doing Kundalini yoga oftentimes is a very good way to balance your chakras, balance your energy body, so you can stay as grounded as one can in the midst of their awakening.
Teachings on yoga. See multiple books here on yoga. Ani Yoga. Here's another one. Yogi philosophy.
Yoga in any way, shape, or form has the ability to corrupt the mind and undo a Christian's faith. It has as its goal the conversion of the individual into the occult. Yoga is from the Sanskrit word yug, meaning union with the divine or your higher self or your God self. Again, it's always about attaining godhood. I will be like the Most High. I will ascend unto the sides of the north, just like Satan did. And this is evidently the temptation for man. Consider the following portion from an article from a secular newspaper. It is estimated that there are 10,000 yoga teachers in the United States who teach between 4 and 5 million students a week. Man, that's a lot of people they're reaching.
These students are now taking a break from their busy school day to relax and to breathe deeply. Fortville Elementary School has every student doing yoga. In fact, they have one 40-minute class every week, and the students have been doing this all year long. The students say they have a noticeable improvement in the students' behavior, in their test scores, and their overall stress levels.
The benefits are just endless. Quite frankly, the physical benefits of balance, endurance, aerobic capacity are incredible. But the mindfulness, the breathing in and out, the ability for these kids to slow down is so important. The test scores are increased, the studies are showing it. We're just trying to find a way for these kids to be able to find themselves, figure out how they feel emotionally.
How great. The school got the idea to try yoga about a year ago, so now they're working on finding money to expand the program across the entire school district. Namaste.
It is not just at the gym. These days, the ancient art of yoga is finding a place in modern education.
We visited one middle school in San Lorenzo, California, which is adding a daily dose of Zen to its curriculum.
Warrior clap, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Warriors alive, ready for their next challenge.
And go for it. Warrior 3.
Whether it's reading, math, or simply finding the strength to focus in class.
Sometimes it takes a lot of courage to just be a little bit more still and not busy.
The lesson is universal.
You have the courage to fall.
The tool, a bit less orthodox.
How many of you think that yoga has made a difference in your life? Everybody.
I'm open. Like, my mind is comfortable. I forget about like the bad things that are happening.
Right knee twisted.
I feel happy and
Inhale,
like,
take it up.
calm. Before, I'm always just running around and not really paying attention, but after yoga, I feel like I relaxed and could do my work more faster and calm.
Let it go.
In 1993, the Alabama Board of Education banned yoga and meditation practices in its public schools amid complaints that counselors were harming children with psychotherapeutic techniques. And there are still groups who are afraid of allowing yoga in Alabama schools.
The more I've researched this, the more I realize that you can't separate the exercises from the religious meditation aspect of it. This is Hinduism, straight up.
Instructors will be able to come into classrooms as young as kindergarten and bring these children through guided imagery, which is a spiritual exercise, and it's outside of their parents' view.
Kundalini awakening is typically believed to be inseparable from the practice of yoga, which also has occult and mystical roots. In his book, Yoga Sutras, the textbook of yoga psychology, Eastern spiritual guru Ramamurti Mishra states, in conclusion, it may be said that behind every psychic investigation, behind mysticism, occultism, etc., knowingly or unknowingly, the yoga system is present. Authors John Ankerberg and John Weldon state in the Encyclopedia of New Age Beliefs, quote, even yoga authorities have said that all yoga is ultimately Kundalini yoga, and that yoga is meaningless without it. This is why no less an authority than Hans Riker concludes, Kundalini is the mainstay of all yoga practices. Even Bailey and Blavatsky affirm that yoga and Kundalini awakening went hand in hand. Alice Bailey stated that Kundalini is, quote, a power known only to those who practice concentration in yoga, and is centered within the spine. And Blavatsky considered yoga philosophy to be one of the occult sciences, and referred to the Kundalini as, quote, one of the mystic yogi powers. The testimonies of virtually every yoga teacher destroy the false notion, typically held by many in the West, that yoga can be done purely for bodily exercise. Not only are the vast majority of yoga instructors well educated in the mystical components of yoga and are often devoted followers of those mystical teachings, but yoga classes typically involve many references to occult and pagan concepts and require that their students participate in them. Identifying the spiritual components and intentions underlying the yoga practice, yoga teacher Lauren Walker states, quote, the magic of yoga is the ability to transform not only your body but also your mind and, by extension, your spirit. Although calming and stabilizing the breath is one big reason yoga has this effect on us, the specific intention behind the movements is what really makes yoga transformative. Many cultures, including Native American, Islamic, and ancient Sumerian cultures, have used movements very similar to some of the yoga movements for prayer, healing, and, we can only assume, physical well-being. There are hieroglyphs depicting some of the oldest physical movements performed by humans that look very similar to yoga poses. The movements can transform us on every level.
I want to read a couple articles to you from Share International, the people who are pushing Maitreya and the Antichrist upon the world, the New Age Messiah that they're pushing. It says here, this was done on April 8th of 2013, and this was channeled through Benjamin Kremen and supposedly written by his master. All right, it says here, it will not surprise any intelligent reader to learn that, in our estimation, the present chaotic economic and resultant social conditions will not last for very much longer. Nor do we see a sudden transformation and return to the mythical status quo. The peoples of the world, in millions, have begun to sense the aroma of freedom, and for little longer will be denied its boon. All right, so across the world it says, most especially among the young, the potent desire for change is being given expression. The young want a new kind of world, a new structure which includes them and their aspirations. These aspirations are for justice and sharing, for meaningful work and an opportunity to raise their families in sufficiency and peace. For too long have they languished in poverty and obscurity, denied a say in their life's endeavor. From now on, the governments of the world will have to consider seriously these aspirations of the hitherto silent majority and change their plans accordingly. The landed rich will find it difficult to maintain the dramatic gap between their way of life and that of the average peasant, as the cry for equality forces change. So that equality word is always pushed because the Freemasons, in their Freemasonic dictionary, they have that saying, liberty, equality, fraternity. So they want everything to be equal because they want a basic universal income. They want everybody to have the same amount of food, everybody to have the same amount of finances, but the rich get richer, right? And the poor stay poor, all right? So it says here, it will be understood that the present divisions in financial power are central to the instability of world finance. The old order is collapsing and no government can halt this process. The new energies of the age of Aquarius are waxing stronger, breaking asunder the old corrupt and decadent order. The young and the young at heart are the first to register the appearance of this new aspiration for justice, maybe because you're pushing it in the schools with your yoga. The desire for right relationship wells up strongly in the hearts of the young. Meanwhile, Maitreya continues his progress among the nations, speaking freely of the need for justice, sharing, and love. These ideas are finding many followers as the tension of today's conditions makes its impact throughout the world, in the USA and Mexico, in Brazil, and now Russia. Maitreya places before his audiences the alternatives facing humanity to continue on the present senseless and greedy path to oblivion, or to see the world as one on a journey to perfection, as brothers and sisters, to see that the only sharing and justice will give us the peace we all desire and a world that prospers according to the plan. The voice of the people, so vigorous and confident now, must continue to ring out throughout the world, affirming sharing and justice as the only way to engender trust in a safer world for all. That's kind of how like Antifa is and all the tree-hugging hippies and all this stuff. They want to share, but they want their justice. You know, no justice, no peace. Get it? No justice, no peace. That's what Antifa says, all right? This is proof that these guys are cronies in an army for the Antichrist, all right? Just like they worked for Adolf Hitler before Nazi Germany really got going. The Antifa, the anti-fascist movement comes from Nazi Germany. All right, it says here that the remedy for men's ills is so simple, so easy of achievement, yet so difficult for many to grasp. Men must realize that every method has been tried and has failed, ending inevitably in war. Today, let all be assured another major war would be nuclear and would destroy utterly all life on Earth. Today, also, there are forces who are already planning how best to survive such annihilation, all to no avail. What can and should humanity do? Broadly speaking, the governments today are organizations of elderly men who know no other way to work and govern than the ways of their youth, the ways of the past. They have little sense of why their methods no longer work. They know nothing of the new energies that are taught in the schools through yoga and impulses which flood the world today, and are baffled and betrayed by the inability to control events. All right, because what's going to happen is you know, Satan used Henry Kissinger and David Rockefeller and the Queen of England and all these people to foster this New World Order, to forcefully put it into place. And then now Satan is shifting his focus over to the youth because he wants to show them peace and harmony and justice, all right, and sharing, all right. That's what's really going on. The article continues, the voice of the young, to a large extent today, the people's voice is the voice of the young. Governments and the media under their control largely ignore or vilify the voices and aspirations of the young. Yet it is the young who have the answers, who understand that humanity is one, who call for fairness, for justice, and for sharing, and an end to the war. The voice of such young people can never be silenced and will not for long be ignored. The voice of the people, young and old, will drown the whimpers of the men of money and lead humanity to the new dawn. So will it be.
We live in a volatile world, in a world where change is happening much more rapidly, and where the answers of the past are not good enough for today.
From here, we're going to face a lot of hurdles, a lot of economic challenges, social challenges, environmental challenges.
It's been a really tough unprecedented few years where not only is the world really volatile, there's been a real breakdown in trust.
You really cannot impact change if you're also not sitting at the right tables. And so I think that it's really important to have more youth representation in places of decision making. And so I'm very happy that there is a forum like Young Global Leaders that, puts that idea at the center.
Getting clear on what we collectively believe is a responsible leader or sustainable organization. That's what we're trying to do.
I come from a country where people don't take you seriously till you're 60. And I feel that the energy and the motivation and the passion of somebody at 20, 30, 40 is unmatched.
The best thing about this community is the spark. You meet people from this community and you hear about what they do, their ideas, and that spark is quite inspiring.
What I find every time I talk to a YGL is that somebody saw a need and nobody was doing this thing, so I guess I'm just gonna have to do it. It's such an inspirational community of people who have dedicated their lives to solving some of the world's biggest challenges.
You have to include youth because you make better decisions. I have young people mentor my board because people are so stuck in their own ways, right? I've been doing this for 30 years, and it's like, what is your point? You might have been doing the same thing for 30 years. A young person might come in with an idea at the first meeting that can change everything.
It's about building a goal bigger than what's on the table. How do we challenge the status quo? How do we grow the horizon in an integrated manner? The voice of youth brings that.
I'll tell you, people, that's what's going on right now. That's absolutely what's going on right now. Is they're indoctrinating the children into this new age movement through the public school systems, and so what's really happening is that there's a shift going from the old way of Satan has been doing things into a new way. He's going to demonize the old people. He's going to take the older Illuminati and throw them into the trash, and he's going to take the new Illuminati, like we discussed in the video yesterday, Antichrist Rising, like the Dursts and the Kushners and all these people, and they're bringing in these young people to see this new stage into effect. All right, and so I am here today to tell you to guard your kids carefully. I'm going to tell you a little story. My son was going to a school where we used to live, and all of a sudden I heard that they were going to start practicing yoga. I called up the school and I said, you will absolutely not teach my children yoga. You're going to catch a lawsuit, all right? There's freedom of religion in this country, all right? And we choose not to celebrate your nastiness that you're doing in your school. Those people proceeded to try to educate me on what yoga truly is, all right? But these people haven't even seen the video that I'm showing today, all right, proving that this stuff is satanic, that it comes straight from the pit of hell, all right? And I'm telling you, these people combated me on it. They argued with me for 20 minutes, and I said, I don't care what you have to say. I am his father, all right? And I say my son will not practice yoga. And I've been showing you in this video that there is an attack on our youth, and it is Satan's agenda and the spirit of Antichrist agenda to infiltrate the youth, to prepare the youth to accept the new age to come, all right? And they're going to kill off all the old people, which is like what they're doing, all right? And I'm telling you, that's exactly the plan, all right? To usher in the youth, all right, and put the youth at the helm. That's why the World Economic Forum has the Young Leaders section of the World Economic Forum that Jared Kushner's wife, Ivanka Trump, is a part of, all right? I'm not saying anybody's bad, and I'm not saying anybody's good. What I am saying, you're going to have to make a decision for yourself what God you're going to serve, all right? And as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. I appreciate each and every one of you that has watched this video up until now. May God bless you all. May God keep you, and may God keep all your children safe in Jesus' mighty name. And please don't forget to go out and change the world in which you live.